bringing scientific translation into your life. Everyday life is impacted by biology as we work to better understand how our bodies work and grow, which is essential for getting to know about scientific life. Even though English is the primary language used for drafting academic papers and communicating research, many major fields of biology and subfields, i.e., biotechnology, biochemistry, plants and animal science, biomedical, clinical, and genetic engineering, pharmaceuticals, as well as nanotechnology, need scientific translation of scientific texts for clinical trials, scientific review, and research papers, as well as for scientific journals. In this article, you'll learn about the need for a scientific translator and the importance, requirement, and challenges of scientific translation in the scientific era. First, let's explore what you need to know about scientific translation before venturing further into the subject. What is scientific translation? Scientific translation is the process of translating texts that emphasize academic theses, scholarly, journal articles, clinical trial findings, and science webinars. A professional must adjust the vocabulary or adapt a strictly scientific text for informational reasons while translating a scientific document, since the fields involved are so specialized that it requires more than just linguistic adaptation. Why you need a scientific translation service. Some of the most significant knowledge that is disseminated across national boundaries is found in scientific research materials. The future is shaped by this kind of knowledge in numerous ways, and for it to be useful, it must be correct when shared. To complete the role successfully, the translator must comprehend the material they are translating. Before beginning to translate scientific literature, a translator must have training and expertise with the many industry-specific terms that are involved. What is the role of scientific translators? A scientific translator aims to do two things. They must first translate the documents from their original language into the target language. Depending on how long the documents are, this may take quite some time. The second goal is that the translation of the data must be completely correct. Need for scientific translation. Studies are frequently conducted with research partners and organizations from several nations and in multiple languages. For findings to be trustworthy, information and data must be consistent. When it comes to the data employed in these investigations, there is no space for doubt. In scientific translation, mistakes could have serious implications and seriously harm people's lives. Scientific translation is essential for avoiding errors. Scientific translations should only be handled by professionals who have a specialty in the subject topic. In addition to linguistic proficiency, translating this type of documentation necessitates specialized training and expertise. Importance of scientific translation. There are many modern innovations in a wide range of sectors requiring the use of a competent and trustworthy translation service. For instance, we occasionally receive requests to translate highly specialized examples of legal, technological, or medical literature. For people from other nations to have access to this information, it is necessary to hire experienced specialists who can give top-notch service in addition to sharing their insights into recent findings. Some of the key points are: increasing information and accessibility, reducing the gap in knowledge, obtaining new understanding. Scientific translation is very important in today's society. Scientific translation is mostly used to interpret papers on academic subjects, which are frequently quite difficult. Therefore, to comprehend the subject and give accurate and consistent information, a technical understanding of the subject is essential. This type of translation covers a wide range of disciplines, including biology, chemistry, physics, medicine, and pharmaceuticals. It is crucial for all of them to translate terminology as exactly as possible and, of course, to avoid grammatical errors. Requirement of scientific translation. A thorough command of the language and scientific vocabulary is necessary for scientific translation. The translator must be fluent in both the target language and the source language. Additionally, they need to have substantial knowledge of the subject matter of the material they are translating to accurately translate a scientific word. Some of the major requirements are the primary stylistic objectives of scientific translation, which must accurately convey the meaning of the source text, are clarity and concision. A scientific translation must not contain any ambiguities or imprecise constructions because those are traits of literary translation. Sometimes it can be very difficult to avoid repetitions. For this reason, the translator needs to come from a scientific background to be able to deal with terminology without altering the text's content. Inconsistencies between numbers reported in tables accompanying diagrams that show something different than what they should, and tables referred to by obscure symbols are all examples of common errors in scientific writing. In this situation, it is suggested that the translator correct any errors in brackets or footnotes. Sometimes it can be very difficult to avoid repetitions. For this reason, the translator needs to come from a scientific background to be able to deal with terminology without altering the text's content. Always get a second translator to proofread your work once you have checked the texts yourself. Asking other experienced translators in the sector is ideal. Challenges in scientific translation and how to cope with them. The misconception of univocal terminology is the first issue with scientific translation. That means that there is only one possible translation for each term, with no additional complication. Or to put it another way, believing incorrectly that a term always has the same meaning. A professional needs both experience and expertise to tackle this issue. Adapting to the style and format is a big hurdle. Scientific writing frequently has a monologue structure. A problem, a discussion, and a potential fix are all introduced by the author. Long compound sentences that provide in-depth information are used in severe, monotonous language. Therefore, the translator must be careful when transferring the original language's grammatical structures to the target language. Conclusion: scientific translation is extremely significant in many aspects of everyone's lives. The necessity, which requires high standards and notable management of the original material, can only be met by a professional organization. In my opinion, expert scientific editing and scientific translation are critically necessary for biologists who wish to share their work with the world and increase the number of citations of their papers. Finding the correct language specialist, professional academic translator, or editor can advance your study and help you accomplish your objectives in today's competitive publication environment.